As you all know, a recent patch was added to Smash Ultimate, potentially being the last patch for the game. As only the last digit of the number was changed, it was obvious this was just a smaller patch, but they did end up changing quite a few more things about characters than expected. What's also recently happened is that I made a video covering this super crazy and interesting glitch that I titled the Silhouette Glitch. If you want to watch the video on that, I'll leave it in the description and in the iCard, but for current purposes I'm just here to reassure that it hasn't been patched out yet. I've got some other things to mention about it, but I'll save that for the end of the video. I still don't really know how many more potential patches will release for this game, as they may have to add things like amiibo support for the amiibo that get released in 2025 or whatever. But I think it's fairly safe to say that glitches we go over on this channel from now on are here to stay. So in that spirit, let's talk about today's main prompt by Examinee623, regarding a glitch with your damage cap. For this glitch, you need a very specific source of lava. Either the lava on Stage Builder, or the lava found on Mario Maker. As far as is currently known, these are the only two sources of lava that work. Let's start on Stage Builder, since setting it up is easier. The way this glitch works is very simple from a technical standpoint. For whatever reason, the lava on the two aforementioned stages ignore the damage cap, and increase your damage count even after 999%. The damage on the portrait does not update, but is definitely changed, which we can see with an easy test. Look here at the knockback dealt from Mario's fireball at a normal 999%. Doesn't do too much, right? The lava here does 14% per hit, so I waited until about 72 hits to where Steve would technically be at the 2000% range. And now the fireball is considerably stronger, a pretty obvious difference. This doesn't just affect knockback either. It also affects things like grab duration, which we can see in this time comparison between a 999% grab release and a 2000% grab release. There is a drawback to this though. The moment the player's percent is changed in any way from a source that isn't the lava, the glitch goes away. There is technically a way around this, but it requires training mode, which Stage Builder is excluded from. So let's move on to Mario Maker, where we can test this in training mode. Unfortunately, the criteria needed to get this to work on Mario Maker are much more specific, which will require a lot of retrying until you get the perfect stage layout. This is another reason why training mode makes this all easier. First, you obviously need a stage with lava. But not just that, but you also need blocks above the lava to allow you to survive, even at 999%. This means, unfortunately, that breakable blocks do not work. You need the solid ones here, and they need to be directly above the lava source. Footstooling doesn't seem to work in this place, as much as I tried, so we can't use this. I also tried to use something like Mewtwo's Confusion, but not only was this crazy precise, even with the timer item, but as we mentioned before, outside sources of damage make the glitch no longer work. And yes, I even tried to use some of Steve's blocks, but unfortunately this still wasn't very efficient. Anyways, after like half an hour of trying, I finally got a stage with a good enough layout. So I brought my damage up to max, hopped into the pit of death, and waited. Now if you get here, there's a chance you might think to yourself, now what? See, Steve's gotta actually get out of this situation now, without dying or taking any damage from anything other than lava. Pausing the game unfortunately does not make this obstacle stop dealing damage, like some other obstacles do. I had to use a whole 80% of my brain for this one, but eventually I decided to just, spawn a superstar. He becomes invincible, eventually stops bouncing, and that's that. And as before, Mario's fireball is way stronger now than it was before, indicating that Steve's percent went past the limit. Now going back to that point of how damage from an external source removes this glitch, there is a workaround for this. You just have to turn on fixed damage. It's very important to note that this option only affects the CPU in training mode, so I had to swap the roles here. And then I realized that all of Steve's moves normally KO at 999%, so I improvised and just used a Fire Flower, which doesn't KO. This will be our testing item here. So send Mario to the Nether, and once he's out, turn on fixed damage, and attack him with something that won't KO him. In this case, I used Steve's Pummel. And after this, the Fire Flower obliterates Mario, indicating that he was above 999% despite having taken damage beforehand. Of course, if you have fixed damage turned on before hopping into the lava, nothing will happen, because no damage was added, thus you couldn't go above the limits. Also, now that we're here, I felt like testing something out regarding healing items. If you go past 999% and eat a healing item, you'll see that it does nothing. However, the very next healing item you use will work as normal. It's the same logic as before. At first, the game interprets your percent as over 999, but because you did something that changes your percent and thus updates it, it goes back to normal. Outside of this, I couldn't really think of many things to test. I wanted to try the Rage Blaster, but the damage of this peaks pretty early on. And this is the case for quite a few percent-based mechanics. Their effects peak way before 999%. The only exceptions I could think of are knockback, and effects like grabs or sleeping or what have you, which we've already mentioned. If you can think of anything interesting, let me know in the comments. So with that, there's just one thing I very much wanted to do now that I was in this situation. Remember how I said that at higher percents, the opponent will stay grabbed for longer? Well, on the channel we've covered how you can set the opponent's percent to be 999, and then pummel them to get a high combo, thus affecting the combo number on the training mode selection screen. You probably see where I'm going with this. Normally at 999, Steve can get around 80 or so pummels on the CPU, which would make his max combo number be that. A pretty modest number. But you know, I actually had to go get some groceries by the time I got to this part. So I threw Mario into the pit and just left to go shopping. Now here's what's nice about training mode. The combo counter will do the math for you. It'll keep track of the number of hits, and more importantly, the total damage dealt. Just add 999 to whatever that number is, and that's Mario's real percent. And by the time I came back, about an hour had passed. And Mario was at over 100,000%. And no, the combo you see here will not count towards my max combo number. The numbers are red, because Mario is hitting a stage hazard, which as we've gone over on this channel before, means the combo won't be counted. So it was time to start pummeling, which took a while. So yeah. You know, at the store I mostly just bought normal groceries, but I also bought some butter cookies. You know, in those containers that you see at people's houses that hold a bunch of random little things. I found myself actually wanting a container for things like loose change and other small stuff, so I figured I'd get some of these. The cookies are obviously really good too. I mean, I can't eat too many of them since I'm still on my diet, but I mean, it's the holiday season, I can afford to loosen up a bit. Oh, anyhow, yeah, after about 10 minutes of constant mashing, I decided that I wanted to eat dinner instead of doing whatever this was. So I ended it at 2022, to celebrate the upcoming new year. And here it is in the training mode character selection screen. I'm very happy about this. If you do the math, technically I could have gotten to around 8,000, which meant I could have pummeled for a total of like 40 minutes. And if you keep doing that math as you go, I guess for every 1000% you get about 80 pummels, give or take depending on the character. I've got an automatic method of increasing your max combo for a character, which I made a video about a long time ago. A bit outdated in a few areas, but the general idea is there. But this method only worked for a handful of characters, so the pummel method is the best method for the entire cast right now. So if you want to get a crazy high number, just follow these steps from the video and have fun mashing for hours. Alright, I think that'll be enough for that topic, so let's move on. Daskar left a comment mentioning a potential glitch regarding Sora in stamina mode. I don't think I've gone over this glitch before, but if you go into stamina mode and grab someone at low HP on their last stock, right before they become invincible, when you throw them, the game will do the whole animation that happens when the game ends, but since they're invincible, they didn't actually take any damage, thus the game continues. The white glow sticks around in the background after this happens, though I didn't see it stack if you do it multiple times. And once you finally get a real KO, the game text happens immediately, and it skips the slowdown animation. It's kinda crazy. So you can probably see where I'm going with this. If we try to see Sora's special stamina mode victory animation, but while doing this glitch, the screen will go completely white for a bit, and then just pop back to normal. The background doesn't seem to change any either. But there is a major difference here. You probably haven't noticed it yet, so let me turn up the volume of this clip all the way. Yeah, outside of stage ambiance, the game is completely silent now. I'm assuming the special Sora animation causes all sound to stop in order for it to flow better. So when it doesn't end up ending the match, we're left with this. And once you finally end the match for real, the... Oh god, sorry, I forgot to turn it down again. But yeah, the volume will suddenly come back in, and everything will be normal. Next up, MacMan made a very interesting video about a technique called boost rolling. I'll link the video in the description. The main point I wanted to bring up for this video is the idea that forward rolls are actually, in most cases, better than backwards rolls. Backwards rolls have more invincibility compared to forward rolls. However, they also have more end lag. And typically, the forward roll goes farther than the backward roll. The exact numbers of course differ throughout the cast, but overall this seems to be the trend. The extra invincibility of the back roll is nice, but typically for a roll, the more important things are speed and distance gained. Usually a back roll is done to escape a bad situation and gain some ground. So having faster frame data and more ground to escape to is typically just better. So the idea behind this boost rolling technique is to input the opposite direction and shield at a specific timing to where you automatically do a forward roll from behind, which only really adds an extra frame of necessary inputting, so it's still worth it. Now a downside is that you can't do this straight from a shield, from what I tested, but it still has its uses. Frankly, I didn't even know that there was this much of a difference between forward and back rolls, but this, combined with the technique, made for some pretty interesting information, so I thought I'd talk about it here. So thank you, MacMan, for letting me cover it. Next, Examine623 comes back to give me another fact, this time regarding Luigi's Final Smash. Just for a quick reference, here's what the knockback of Luigi's Final Smash normally looks like. And it's pretty normal, right? And let's look at the knockback now. It's a little bit higher. This happens because I jumped in front of the poltergust right as it spat out the CPU. Now this is normally easiest done in a slower mode, but based on the account that I'm built different, I just do it in normal speed. Really, I have no idea what's happening here, but the knockback is amplified by a ton. So I wanted to test what happens with items in this scenario. And the items don't seem to get launched in any crazy way, but when they hit me, I get launched crazy far, just like the CPU. If I use a weaker item like the lipstick, we can see that Mario is able to act pretty quickly, but is still getting carried away by some absurd amount of knockback. However, if I do this glitch without the items, it's not like Mario has an increased knockback stored in him, and even if I place a motion sensor bomb and time it to be about on par with the test before, the knockback still isn't abnormal. So it's likely that, for whatever reason, the item itself is dealing some crazy knockback. This is all just beyond me though. And just because I can, I tried to see the extent of the knockback by initiating it all the way over here. And when I did that, I regained control of Mario over halfway across the screen. So half of the training mode stage, that's quite a bit. I like this glitch, it's crazy. Extreme knockback is funny. Lastly for this video, I want to touch up on a few things regarding that silhouette glitch I mentioned in the intro. Again, if you want more information on how to set this up, and some of the more basic tests I did, watch the video I made dedicated to it, link in the description. For today though, I just want to cover some other things I've seen. First, if the claw in the background targets someone who's in this omnipresent glitch state, the hitbox of it will remain active constantly. There is not much else to this, I just think it's really crazy and also kind of funny. Next, Tom T gives me a bunch of information regarding this glitch and how it works. First is that while you're in the invisible omnipresent state, you can actually footstool the other character, which results in you teleporting back as a silhouette. So I guess that's a good alternative. A bit awkward to set up, but it's still possible. Next, there's a good chunk of moves that, if the glitch character uses, it can further mess things up. One example being Donkey Kong's up special. You'll notice that once it hits Yoshi, he also gets glitched out. This likely happens with most multi-hits, and really any move that causes the non-glitch character to have to be pulled to the glitch character's position. Now the thing is, while DK can move around, Yoshi cannot. So it's like he's glitched within the glitch. And funny enough, if Yoshi then uses down air, another multi-hit move, Donkey Kong also becomes glitched within the glitch, meaning neither of them can move from their spot. I tried a lot of things, but nothing was able to KO them, which means they're both stuck like this until I reset training mode. But if you get just DK KO'd, when he respawns he'll be silhouetted, but his movement is strangely restricted, with him popping in and out of existence. And when I jumped, DK went right back into the glitch state as before, it's crazy. And next, if you do this glitch on Rosalina and Luma, Yoshi will get glitched out on the stage, just like DK before, with his movement restricted on the ledge and him popping in and out of existence. And jumping brings him back to the super glitch stage, yada yada. No idea why that happened specifically with Rosalina and Luma, but man, this glitch is crazy. And lastly for this video, Andres asks what happens when you use the show invincibility option on a glitched character. They're referring to the green or blue glow that appears on characters when they have invincibility or intangibility respectively. If the character is glitched out and they receive a superstar, they're invincible. But no color highlight is showing up. I guess I was kind of expecting something a bit glitchier than that, but I guess this makes sense. Also, just for fun, here's what Steve looks like when he's silhouetted. Yeah. His blocks don't seem to get silhouetted. It's possible they would if you placed them while glitched, but I guess since Steve's out of bounds here, it's past the building grid, thus he can't build. So there you go. And that'll be it for today's video. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode of random nonsense and whatever. By the time I'm editing this video, the Game Awards will be happening. I'm not expecting too much, but at least 1 or 2 big Nintendo related announcements are possible, so I'm excited. If anything big happened, I'll edit some text to talk about it on the screen. So yeah, there you go. And outside of that, the holiday season is rapidly approaching, so I hope y'all are having a good time and taking care of yourselves. I'd also like to thank my patrons Skully, Burbo, Hobo King Niklz, Raighne, Feurolant700, and everyone else for their support. Stay casual, and I'll see y'all later.